Hello everyone, welcome back to the Big Slosh channel. Today we're talking about Valve and the Steam machine more specifically, or I guess as other people refer to it as the GabeCube. I've been finding myself calling it the Steam Cube. I don't know, I just feel like it rolls off the tongue very well. But anyways, I'm kind of excited for this thing. Before we get into that, if you like the video, if you like what I'm talking about, if you like my gameplay, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. And let's talk about the Steam Machine. So, the Steam Machine is this tiny cube console made by Valve, and it's supposed to be the console counterpart to the Steam Deck. Now, they talked briefly about the Steam Deck in the beginning, hinting at a Steam Deck 2, which is something I would be excited for, but not yet. They're not talking about it just yet. But the Steam Machine being that counterpart, it's been called 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, and they want it to be, as I said previously, that console counterpart to the Steam Deck. So it has the Steam OS, probably looks the same, like when it comes to the UI and the library and all that stuff. Maybe a little bit more refined, who knows. I am excited for this console just to see how it does in the console space. I have an Xbox Series X. I don't really know how interested I would be into getting the Steam Machine, but if I were to get it, I already have a big library for the game, since I have a lot of Steam games, a Steam Deck, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm interested to see how well this console does. There seems to be a lot of excitement. You know, a lot of people are talking about Xbox being a little nervous right now, especially since Xbox has advertised their latest console that's in development. You know, we don't know anything about it, but they've stated that they want it to be a PC disguised as a console. And Valve basically just said, you don't have to worry about that, little guy. I'm gonna do that instead. So people are thinking that Xbox is about to take a huge hit thanks to the Steam Machine. And whether that happens or not, we won't really know the answer until the Steam Machine comes out. But I'll be honest, I want the Steam Machine to succeed, and I want it to be very successful. But there's also some concerns that I have. Mainly being, and I think a lot of people share this same concern, is how powerful is the Steam Machine? There's like 2 big concerns right now, and one is how powerful it is, and 2 is what is the price going to be. But when it comes to how powerful the machine is, I've heard 2 different things. One, I've heard that it's a little bit more powerful than an Xbox Series S, which doesn't really make sense, and I'll explain why in a second. And then the second thing I've heard is it's about as powerful as a base PS5, maybe a little bit less. That one is the one I'm hoping is more accurate, because saying it's a little bit more powerful than a Series S doesn't really make sense to me, since they're toting this 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck tagline. And when the Steam Deck came out, a lot of people were saying that's a little bit less powerful than a Series S. So it wouldn't really make sense for the Steam Machine to be 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, but at the same time only a little bit more powerful than the Series S. So I'm hoping that part isn't true, and that what's more likely to be true is that it's on par with a base PS5. That being said, I don't really know PC parts, technology parts. I don't really know the technology behind it like that. That's just what I've heard from other people. My hope is that this game can run a lot of modern day titles, modern day games well. They've mentioned the 4K 60 frames per second. A lot of people are saying that it's not going to run these games at a high fidelity. It's going to be like a medium quality experience. And for most AAA games that come out today, I really don't mind if it's a medium experience. My concern is what other people will think. Because for me, when I play video games, I don't play that many AAA titles. The AAA titles that I play are pretty much exclusively Space Marine 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, Doom the Dark Ages, and a little bit of Borderlands. All the other AAA titles that I play are like games that came out 10 years ago. So those don't really have a concern with running very well. But the modern day AAA games that I play, like Borderlands, for example, or Monster Hunter Wilds, tend to have really bad PC performance. And it's not necessarily the fault of the PC, it's the fault of the company and really bad optimization. But I don't want the Steam machine to have that same problem. So, I want the Steam machine to succeed, but it really relies on 3 different factors. One is the price. I've seen a lot of people say that if it's $500 or more, it's going to struggle to compete against the console market, which I could probably agree with. I think the digital-only PlayStation 5 is also $500, so if we're getting less power, why should we get the Steam machine over the PlayStation 5? That's a good question, but honestly, I'm thinking it's probably going to be around that $500 range, and maybe like $700 for the 2 terabyte version. So that's one of the concerns about the success of this title, the price. The second is the power of the device and how well will it run games for your gaming purposes. And then 3, will the developers do a good job optimizing these games for these platforms? And I think that's the real question mark. That's where I am the most worried, because we've seen a lot of games recently have very bad optimization for PC, and if that follows suit with the Steam machine, then it's going to start off in a bad place, in a bad position. Like I said, a lot of the games that I play aren't very graphically demanding. A lot of them are either indie games or old AAA titles like the old Call of Duty games or the old Halo games. But the AAA games that I do play, like Monster Hunter Wilds, for example, are not very well optimized for PC. So I really don't want the Steam machine to fall into that curse, because obviously the Steam machine would suffer for it, and it wouldn't even necessarily be the Steam machine's fault. It would be the fault of the developers for poor optimization. That is like my main concern, because I really want this game to run modern day titles well, mainly because I want it to succeed in the eyes of a lot of gamers. And even though I don't play a lot of AAA titles or a lot of modern day AAA titles, a lot of other gamers do. And so this system, this little cube, needs to run these games well if it wants to have a sturdy foundation in the market. And because Microsoft and Sony have announced that they're already working on their next generation, it does make it a little more concerning too that the Steam machine is about as strong as a PlayStation 5 or a base PlayStation 5. So what's going to happen when the Steam machine comes out, and then I think 2030 is probably when your new generation comes out. So the Steam machine will have nice footing for 3 years, but then immediately after that become outdated. I don't know. It's a concern that I have, but it's also because I want this to succeed. I like the idea of the Steam machine. I have an Xbox Series X, like I said, so I don't really know if I would get it, but I have a Steam Deck. I enjoy a Steam Deck. I wouldn't mind being able to play my library on a stronger platform. It's just very interesting to see what it's going to be like. I hope you enjoyed my yapping topic for today. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. I feel like I was running around a lot more in this game. But yeah, like I said, I really want the Steam machine to succeed. I hope it does. I'm looking forward to more information about it. Hopefully it's not too expensive. And I think probably within the next few weeks, people at home are going to make the Steam machine out of like their own PC parts and whatnot. That way we can get a really good idea of what performance is going to be like. But anyways, like, comment, or subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I will see you all tomorrow for an animation that I made that I'm kind of proud of. As always, stay safe, and bye-bye, everybody.